Imagine a world where love, wealth, immigration, power, and desire are all tangled inside one relationship that slowly destroys the people inside it. That is the world of dreams, the controversial and emotionally brutal drama written and directed by Mexican filmmaker Michel Franco. Franco is not a director who makes comfortable movies. If you know his previous works like New Order, Memory, or Chronic, you already understand his cinematic philosophy. His stories are cold, observational, unforgiving, and emotionally brutal in ways that force audiences to confront uncomfortable truths about society, class, race, and human nature. And in Dreams, Franco returns with one of his most divisive and psychologically disturbing social critiques. The film begins inside darkness. The first images are horrifying. We are placed inside a truck carrying undocumented migrants crossing the U.S.-Mexico border near Texas, specifically around Laredo. The people inside are trapped. They are screaming, suffocating, panicking. This opening immediately establishes the film's central theme. Migration is not romanticized here. It is not heroic adventure. It is survival. Franco shoots this sequence with his signature cold observational style, influenced by directors such as Michael Haneke. There is no dramatic music, no emotional manipulation, just the horrifying reality of human desperation. Among the survivors is a Mexican ballet dancer named Fernando. Fernando is played by real-life ballet star Isaac Hernandez. In real life, Hernandez is an extraordinary dancer. He became the first Mexican principal dancer at the American Ballet Theater, which mirrors the fictional ambition of his character. Fernando is in his 30s. He is talented, proud, emotionally guarded, and driven by the dream of international artistic recognition. He illegally crosses the U.S. border hoping to reunite with his lover, Jennifer. Jennifer is played by Jessica Chastain, delivering one of the most morally complex performances of her career. Jennifer is not a traditional villain. She is worse in a more subtle way. She represents performative liberal philanthropy inside elite American society. She belongs to a wealthy San Francisco family that runs a cultural foundation supporting Mexican artists. Her father, played by Marshall Bell, is a wealthy art collector who publicly celebrates immigrant art while maintaining strict social boundaries. Her brother, portrayed by Rupert Friend, helps manage the family foundation. Fernando and Jennifer met in Mexico City. The connection was immediate and intensely physical. Their relationship is defined by passion, control, secrecy, and social imbalance. Jennifer encourages Fernando's artistic development, but only inside controlled boundaries. She finances his opportunities. She helps shape his career, but everything exists on her terms. Fernando risks death crossing the border because he believes Jennifer will help him build a future. This is where the film's metaphor becomes clear. The United States represents the promise of dreams, but Franco questions whether that dream is real or manufactured. Is America a place of opportunity or a system that consumes immigrant ambition while keeping social hierarchy intact? One of the film's most shocking moments occurs when Fernando enters Jennifer's mansion. He sleeps naked in her bed. Instead of expelling him, Jennifer initiates intimacy. The sexual scenes in the film are highly choreographed rather than purely erotic. They function like psychological mapping of the relationship. The sex is passionate, but also emotionally violent in implication. Fernando and Jennifer are not equals. Their desire exists inside social pressure, immigration fear, and emotional dependency. One of the film's most haunting details is language. Jennifer cannot speak Spanish. She communicates with Mexican workers using Google Translate. This symbolizes emotional distance. Even inside her own homes, whether in San Francisco or Mexico City, loneliness follows her, no matter how much wealth she possesses. Fernando wants the relationship to be public. Jennifer refuses. She is afraid of how her father and social circle will react. She hides Fernando because public acknowledgement would threaten her social position. This secrecy becomes emotional violence. When Fernando tries to leave, Jennifer uses her financial and social influence to pull him back. The relationship becomes psychological warfare. Fernando begins adapting to American life independently. He earns a lead position in the San Francisco Ballet Company. For a moment, it seems he might build a life without Jennifer's control, but Jennifer cannot accept losing him. Franco sharply criticizes elite philanthropy. Jennifer's family foundation publicly supports immigrant artists, but privately they maintain strict social and racial hierarchy. The film suggests that such institutions may function as moral branding tools rather than genuine social reform. The family treats Mexican artists as culturally valuable but socially distant. Talented, poor, exotic, acceptable only as artistic symbols. The film occasionally feels like a psychological thriller. One memorable scene shows Jennifer searching desperately for Fernando. She finds him dancing outside the San Francisco Ballet, performing for a chance to be noticed. Watching Jennifer maneuver socially and emotionally is like observing a chess master planning multiple moves ahead. This is where the film becomes extremely divisive. After Jennifer destroys Fernando's stability through social power, he responds with extreme violence. The film culminates in a shocking and disturbing sexual assault scene that has sparked intense debate. Franco likely intends this moment to represent the destructive cycle of power abuse. The idea is that systemic violence can transform psychologically when pushed to emotional collapse. But many critics argue the scene is dangerous because it risks reinforcing harmful stereotypes, suggesting immigrants are sexual threats to white women. The narrative shift makes empathy toward Fernando difficult and complicates the film's political message. The ending of Dreams is deliberately disturbing because it does not provide emotional closure. Instead, it transforms the story into a psychological and social tragedy. The final moments take place inside a car, where Jennifer and Fernando sit separated by emotional distance even though they are physically close. The camera reduces sound. Dialogue becomes almost a whisper behind glass. This cinematic choice reflects Franco's cold observational style, similar to the work of Michael Haneke, where emotional violence is often more important than physical violence. In the final conversation, Jennifer reveals the breaking point of her identity. Throughout the film, she has lived inside 3 overlapping prisons: her family's social empire, her philanthropic public persona, her obsessive secret relationship. Jennifer is not free even though she is wealthy. The film suggests that elite privilege can create emotional isolation rather than happiness. Her single tear in the closing shot symbolizes the death of her illusion, not necessarily moral redemption, not forgiveness, but the realization that her dream of controlling love was impossible. Fernando's dream was never only romance. He wanted 3 things: artistic recognition, freedom from immigration vulnerability, and public acknowledgement of his relationship. But every system around him worked against those goals. The border crossing represents more than geography. It represents social, racial, and economic barriers that cannot be erased by emotional attachment. Even when Fernando gains ballet success inside the United States, his independence is fragile because his existence is still shaped by social power structures. The assault scene in the climax is the most debated part of the film. Franco may be trying to show how abuse can mutate when people trapped inside unequal power systems attempt revenge. The intention might be to illustrate that power abuse does not belong to one social group alone. However, many critics believe the execution is morally dangerous because it risks reinforcing stereotypes linking immigrants to sexual violence. This is why the ending divided audiences so sharply. The ending is not meant to be satisfying. It is meant to feel emotionally exhausting. The film suggests that love built inside hierarchy eventually collapses. Philanthropic virtue can hide emotional control. Immigration dreams are often crushed by social systems. Revenge cannot repair structural injustice. In Franco's worldview, human relationships inside unequal power structures are almost always doomed. Unlike traditional romance tragedies, where death or separation provides emotional catharsis, Dreams ends in psychological emptiness. There is no redemption arc, no heroic sacrifice, no romantic resolution. Only the quiet realization that both characters have lost their imagined future. Jennifer loses emotional control. Fernando loses the dream of belonging. The movie ultimately argues that modern society does not destroy dreams through sudden violence. Instead, it destroys them through social silence, economic hierarchy, cultural hypocrisy, emotional dependency, and invisible systemic pressure. The last tear on Jennifer's face is not hope. It is the collapse of everything she believed love could be.